Hello everyone, my name is the Clever Fool. Today I'll be playing the 4th level of Prithviraj, titled The Fate of India, on hard difficulty of course. Let's go ahead and hop right in.
Without his daughter, Jayachandra became a stampeding elephant. No one was safe from his overflowing rage. But anger alone could not win a war, and Jayachandra would not have been a threat to my Raja had it not been for the jealousy and cunning of a once loyal subject. Oh, Kaimbasa! How love and jealousy made him betray his master. The minister who had advised my king since he was a boy, and whom Prithviraj honored like a beloved uncle, sought the one woman he could not have. Kaimbasa fell in love with Sanyogita. His jealousy drove him to Jayachandra's court to betray his own king. Whispering in Jayachandra's ear, Kaimbasa gave direction and purpose to the king's anger. He urged Jayachandra to send an ambassador to the Afghan hills to find Muhammad Ghori, a brutal warlord said to command a slave army numbering in the thousands. The messenger would regale the Turk with tales of the riches of Prithviraj's kingdom and whisper to him how the young king was too smitten with his bride to defend his lands. Then Kaimbasa promised the vengeful king Prithviraj would be defeated and Jayachandra would rule Rajasthan. Unknown to the two men, their fateful scheme would jeopardize all of India.
Literally could have just fallen in love with any other woman. What are you doing? Get your shit together. Why did it have to be that woman, dude? Come on. Our main objectives are to destroy monasteries to prevent an enemy victory. Each monastery you destroy resets the relic countdown. We start with a ton of resources. Holy crap. 20k. That's like deathmatch resources right there. Our hints tell us that you are restricted to a population limit of 200. Train units and research technologies quickly. Your enemies begin with the same amount of resources, and they will not waste time. Although you start with a high amount of resources, do not neglect to train more villagers. You will need a robust economy to win. The sooner you help the Buddhist monks, the greater the impact of the reward. Okay? All of your enemies rely heavily on cavalry, making them vulnerable to imperial camels and spear infantry. That'll be good to keep in mind. Your scouts report that Prithviraj's brother, Govind Tai, commands the Rajputs defending the kingdom from the invading Ghurids. He has the treasury of Ajmer at his disposal, but the Ghurids are equally powerful. The Ghurids belong to a multi-ethnic sultanate composed of Turks in red, Persians in green, and Tatars in yellow. Each of these factions rely on cavalry armies supported by siege. The Persians train war elephants and knights, while the Turks and Tatars rely on large numbers of cavalry archers and light cavalry. The Tatars also benefit from their unique unit, the Keshik. Okay, so for this level I'm actually going to be doing a post-commentary because it required a bit of intense planning and execution. As you can see, I actually utilized the game pause feature at the very start for the first time in any of my playthroughs. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just going ahead and picking up all of the economy upgrades. So the lumber camp upgrades, both mining camp upgrades, farm reseed. I'm also advancing to the Imperial Age and building a transport ship. That transport ship will be needed to take villagers across the river in order to start building defenses on the west side of our base. Also, in our military buildings, I'm picking up relevant tech such as Elite Skirmisher, Thumb Ring, Pikemen, Arson, Squires, Husbandry, Light Cavalry, and I'm starting to maximize my queues. And I'm doing all of this at the very start so that I can get it all set up quickly and utilize my time as efficiently as I can, because this level is really a kind of like a deathmatch style level where what you do in the first few minutes of the game will be very, very impactful for your chances of success. So here I'm also building a bunch of monks, researching ballistics, murder holes, and masonry at the university, and also picking up all of the blacksmith upgrades. So The enemies are very strong. I believe they're Tatars, Persians, and and Turks, I think, in green, red, and yellow. The yellow base is located at the north of the map. The red base is at the very west side of the map, and the green base is at the bottom left of the map. So you can see that with my starting villagers, I'm actually constructing 2 additional town centers so I can start my boom. And I am sending my camels out towards the center of the map. And what they're looking for here is that they're looking for a relic cart. The 3 relic carts that you can find on this map, if you bring them to the Buddhist monks, they will unlock a technology. They'll basically unlock the Hunnic unique technology atheism for you. So instead of having a 200-year timer for the relics, it will instead have a 300-year timer for the relics, and that'll give you a little bit of breathing room so that you don't have to worry about destroying an enemy monastery to reset the timer so quickly. As you can see here, I'm setting up my economy, and I'm already moving my camels down to the south to where the 3rd relic cart is. So 1 relic cart is near the middle of the map, which we already found. Another relic cart is actually left of the green monastery, which we just found on screen here. And the 3rd one's actually at your base, so you don't really need to worry about that one just yet.
Our brothers were traveling with ancient relics, but they have not arrived. Bring the relics.
So one important thing about moving these relic carts is that you can lose control of them if your units wander too far away from it. And the relic carts will not necessarily immediately move with your units at the same speed. You kind of got to wait for them to cluster up a little bit together. The movement's a little bit weird, so you should be a little bit careful about that. They already marked the spots on our map, but we already know where they were, so we're picking them up. Now what we're doing is we're sending 5 of our starting villagers over via transport so that we can begin building a town center on the west side so that we can construct villagers on the west side, and also begin building our static defenses. This entire time, notice at the top left that all of our buildings are hard at work. We're hard at work researching economic technologies and training military units because we're about to come under some very, very heavy attack and we need all the units that we can get. So here I've advanced the Imperial Age, and you can see that I have paused the game a second time. This is the only other time that I'll be pausing the game, and what I'm doing now is I'm selecting places to construct my static defenses. I believe I construct a total of 4 castles and 2 town centers here, and what you want is like a big group of castles together so that they can it'll serve as your battleground. This way you'll have multiple castles shooting upon the enemy attack forces at all times. And you want to keep some villagers around and alive to be able to repair them if possible. Of course, you need to build them as well. That's the reason why we're building town centers on the west side, so that instead of having to deal with transport shenanigans, we can instead train them directly on the west side. So now you notice that now that we're in the Imperial Age, I'm picking up some very important technologies such as conscription, hoardings, chemistry. I do believe I do pick up like fortified wall and some other things that I forgot to pick up in the Castle Age. Another very interesting thing is that by the time you reach the Imperial Age, your blacksmith might still actually be working on technologies to research. So you might need to come back to the blacksmith to finish queuing up the technologies that you need. In the barracks, you're going to want to be picking up halberdier as soon as you can. And from the stables, you're going to want to pick up heavy camel and imperial camel as well as hussar. Elite skirmishers will be good against the cavalry archers. You can also put them inside of your castles to increase their attack power. Meanwhile, hussars and camels will be good at taking out siege weapons from the enemy, as well as just knocking out enemy cavalry in general. Also have noticed that we have been starting to train trebuchets. Trebuchets are going to be the siege unit of choice for sniping enemy monks, or enemy monasteries, that is. And right here you see that I actually begin building a wonder. So I spend 1,000 wood, stone, and gold to start building a wonder, and I'll come back to that a little bit later. We've got 2 of the carts over in the Buddhist monk area now. The 3rd cart is actually on our island and we need to transport it over, but because the relic timer hasn't counted down very far yet, I'm not super worried about microing that just yet. And now you can see I've already got the halberdier upgrade and I'm flooding units out. And this whole time I am continuing to add farmers and add woodcutters. You want to add some fishing ships at the very start because you'll be able to create them from your dock without interruption. Your starting TC is going to be busy advancing to the Imperial Age, and your other TCs need to be built. So making sure that your dock is working and creating economic units is very, very important here. Now you can see that Red has actually started sending their first attack force over, but they're still in the castle age, so these light cavalry are actually not super threatening. Now, unfortunately, I do let them kill off two of my villagers, which is really unfortunate. And in the north here, there's just a complete tidal wave of units, so I gotta get the hell out of Dodge, and I try to save my trebuchets. But fortunately, we do have one castle up, and having just that one castle up is actually very, very good for us, as it allows us to efficiently trade against the first enemy waves, and it buys us time to get the next few castles up. This entire time I'm training up units, and I'm trying to make sure that my economy is running smoothly, because your starting resources are not going to last you forever. I started with 20k of wood food, 10k gold, and 5k stone, and as you can see, a good amount of that resource, a good amount of that stuff is gone. Now you can see Red is actually arriving with some rams. You're going to want to make sure that you have melee units that can focus down siege weapons, because those are really the only things that are going to be doing much damage to your castles. Having multiple castles is good, but you still need to pay extra close attention and make sure you're efficiently taking out the siege weapons. So as you can see, I've got that one camel there knocking out the rams. You could be better about this, but I realize that I need more melee units out on the field if possible. So I've got 53 villagers right now. I'm trying to get to maybe like 80-ish villagers, or maybe even a little bit more than that, so that I can make sure that I have a good economy on the back of this, so that I can sustain my pressure against the enemy. The initial yellow forces have been largely traded out, but then again, a lot of my army is traded out. You want to make sure that you're trying to maximize your population whenever you can, especially since you're going to be using trash units, counter units, to be resource efficient against 3 opponents. If you are not at maximum population, you are in trouble. You should always, always, always be producing more if you can. And I think after this, I'll actually start building some additional barracks, because I realize that halberdiers are just too darn good and too darn useful against the hussars. So I'm actually in a bit of a pickle here. I'm glad that we researched hoardings, because that 1,000 extra castle HP might actually come in handy here. But as you can see, Red is using heavy cavalry archers right now, and our castle is going to be able to clean them up basically all by themselves. What I'm doing right now is I'm preserving my unit numbers and baiting the enemy force into my castles, so that my castles can actually do the bulk of the fighting, and I can save some of my units. I'm also transitioning some of my fishing ships to fish traps, so that once the river runs out of natural fish, they can still continue generating value for me. And now you can also see here that I've trained several monks. Monks are going to be very, very useful against green, because green will train paladins and elite war elephants, because they're the Persians. Persians, unfortunately, I don't believe they get faith. I don't believe they get heresy, so they are very, very vulnerable to monk conversions. A useful Imperial Age technology that you can pick up is called Theocracy. What this technology does is that it allows your monks to kind of focus fire their conversions on one elephant, and after they perform the conversion, only one monk actually needs to rest. So this kind of allows you to use your monks as combat units to actually perform conversions against elephants. Converting elephants and paladins is going to be super, super useful in this mission, because you're going to be hard pressed for good melee units as the Indians, and especially since you're producing mostly trash. And they'll just give you a lot of staying power and abilities to kill off enemy siege. So as you can see here, our castles has stayed up, and we have a few villagers here repairing them. And we have picked up the last relic cart on our side of the island, and we're about to transport it over. There's still 47 years remaining on the timer, and once we bring the relic over to the Buddhist monks, we'll actually be getting another 100 years. This entire time, again, I am still producing units wherever I can. I believe I should have queued up some, halberdiers. I'm still pop-capped here, and being pop-capped is a great sign. And I'm still training up my halberdiers here. I'm setting up some additional barracks here so I can get more halberdiers faster once I start losing them. And now I've got a bunch of villagers on this wonder. Now you might be wondering, Clever Fool, why are you building a wonder right now? Well, the answer is actually pretty interesting. So once you build the wonder, after you get the relic card to the Buddhist monks, you will actually start getting a victory countdown of your own. It'll be 300 years after you get the reward. By default, it is 200 years, but unfortunately, the Buddhist monks reward affects both the wonder and the relics. And what I can do is, after my wonder completes, my 300-year countdown will start, and after my countdown starts, if I'm able to destroy a monastery, then technically I don't even need to worry about destroying the next monasteries, because the timer will have reset, and their timer will be will have more years on it than my wonder timer. So then it just becomes, instead of a destroy the monasteries mission, it actually becomes a defend my wonder mission, and that actually allows you to totally cheese this mission, because the enemy won't actually attack the eastern side of your base. So if you're able to do this, if you're able to complete construction of your wonder and then destroy an enemy monastery after completion of your wonder, then you can just chill out on their starting island and just win off of a wonder victory. So that's one approach that you can go for, and in the end you'll see whether or not I see this objective to the end. But yeah, I think we've talked about mostly everything now. As you can see, I am using what remains of my resources to build even more castles. Having castles close to each other is actually pretty good because they kind of cover each other's bases. I'm also keeping myself like with 7 or 8 trebuchets. You really only need 4 trebuchet shots or so to be able to get a monastery to eject its relics. But obviously having more trebuchets available gives you some buffer space. You can lose a couple trebs in your assault, or you can screw up a couple of treb shots or something, and you'll still be able to snipe the monasteries. Now, an important thing about the enemy monasteries is that all of them can actually be sniped from beyond their walls by trebuchets, which is exactly why trebuchets are such a strong unit in this scenario. You want to keep like a buffer of cavalry or halberdiers in front of them to soak up enemy fire. In particular, you want halberdiers to defend trebuchets from cavalry units, because archer units don't really do much damage to trebuchets because trebuchets have great pierce armor. So having a ton of halberdiers in front of your trebuchets should act as an effective screen to give them the opportunity to set up and destroy the monasteries. So that's why I have so many halberdiers here. That's why I constructed so many barracks. And as you can see, I'm actually holding out pretty well. I haven't lost the castle yet. I've been repairing up that original one. I haven't lost my original castle. And I still have one foundation that I'm still building. So in total, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I have 5 castles, and the 6th one it's still building. And I had enough stone to still get the wonder. So that was a total of what, 1,000 stone plus like 3,000 on castles, plus a few hundred on town centers. So that's a very efficient use of my stone here. As you can see, I'm actually very low on stone. I'm about to. Yep, I just ran out of resources, and I don't have any stone miners. So that's all the stone that I'm going to be able to have for this scenario, unless I buy some at the market. There you see a great example of my halberdiers destroying enemy siege. And my trebuchets are actually getting set up here. Now here's actually a very interesting decision that I had to make. So my wonder is actually not completely, it hasn't finished construction yet. So by destroying that monastery, I actually reset the timer early. So I didn't do what I just described, where I completed the wonder, then destroyed the monastery. I actually destroyed the monastery first, so I restarted their timer first. As you can see in the top right corner there. Their timer is going, but mine is not. So unfortunately for me, what that means is that I have to wait for the wonder to get constructed, and I have to destroy another monastery. You can see my wonder is just going up there, and you can see, oh, it's so unfortunate. It's only like an 8-year difference. But sadly, as it is right now, I do have to reset their timer one more time. Otherwise, I can't just sit back and relax right now. There you can see the green has kind of made their way into my original base here. They've got some really strong units, but I have done some decent damage to yellow. I've destroyed some of their production buildings, and my halberdiers are killing off their cavalry super quickly. This is where monks really come in handy. If I'm ever in any real trouble against green, all I have to do is ungarrison my monks from the castle and start converting away. As you can see there, I've already got a few war elephants under my control, and those guys are going to be taking up a lot of enemy fire. and doing a lot of great work for me. So here I notice that red has come over to clean up the halberdiers. I've lost a lot of units. I don't have too much in my production queue, so what I'm doing is I'm taking care of business and I'm re-queuing up units. And I'm also getting my trebuchets out of harm's way. Now, fortunately for me, I do have the means of producing more trebuchets if I lose them, so I'm not super worried about that. But as you can see here, my resource inflow is doing really, really nicely because I actually took the time to invest both in fishing ships and in farmers and in woodcutters. So on the back of this military, I have a 100 unit economy, and it is allowing me to continue production of these skirmishers, halberdiers, and the occasional gold unit here as well. And you can see now also that the castles are covering each other really nicely, and they're slaughtering units as they come in. And we've got a bunch of elephants coming in now, so we're moving in additional halberdiers. I'm actually trying not to move my skirmishers in because skirmishers do not fare well against elite war elephants or paladins. They're basically completely useless, actually. So I'm trying to keep those near my castle so I can garrison them inside or have them deal with some cavalry archers if the need arises. And now what you can see me do is I'm moving my halberdiers in literally just as a meat shield. And I see some red cavalry archers, so I move my skirmishers out to engage them. But really the only purpose of these trebuchets is to reset the counter of that monastery. If they are able to reset the monastery timer one more time, then I can just pursue my strategy of chilling and defending my wonder. And I'll be able to win quite comfortably because I could lose the entirety of this base and all the buildings on this western side. So long as I don't lose my wonder, I will still be A-okay. So as you can see now, in the top right corner, I have 244 years on my wonder, but they have 297 years for a relic victory. And obviously 241 is going to hit 0 before 295 hit 0. So I've actually effectively won already. I am on cruise control, and I could probably honestly just leave my keyboard and I would win at this point. And you see all these red, the red horde of units here. It's very, very intimidating if you don't get these static defenses up. But because we have so many castles, we're only worried about enemy siege. Yeah, the elephants are strong, but we can convert them with our monks, or we can kill them off with our halberdiers. And light cavalry and cavalry archers are just no match for castles on their own. And red will only really send you rams. So long as I am taking out the enemy siege equipment in a timely fashion and keeping my unit counts up in order to achieve that goal, then it's actually I'm actually not in too much danger here. And as you can see at the top right, I've been saying as you can see a hell of a lot. I find that I do that a lot, but hey, it's a tutorial video, so I'm going to excuse myself for that. In any case, from the top left, in the top left, you can see that I've queued a bunch of Imperial camels now. So I have the spare golds. I don't need to create any more trebuchets. So Indian Imperial camels are super, super good against cavalry. They do kind of melt under archer fire, but they're really, really good against paladins, and they can go out and snipe. Siege weapons pretty well as well, so I've been creating some of those in order to give some more population efficiency. Trash units are very good, they're very resource efficient, but they're not very population efficient. Between 200 skirmishers and 200 elite war elephants, I would definitely always want 200 elite war elephants, right? And actually, you see that I have 54 wood choppers. I could honestly probably delete some of those in favor of more military headroom, or I could retask some of those to farms or something like that. The truth of the matter is that, or I could even like sell that wood and buy something else, right? The truth of the matter is that so long as I have some resources in the bank, it doesn't really matter what resources those are, so long as I'm able to maintain my population cap, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm actually reassigning some of my resource gatherers over to farms because I see that food has actually become my limiting resource. Another couple of things that I would like to note here is that the Buddhist monks have a market that that you can trade with, but I personally have a really hard time finding trade to be relevant. I think that the starting gold that you have, as well as just selling stuff at the market, will be more than enough to get the gold that you need in order to win this scenario. I played a very trash heavy strategy, so lots of units that don't require gold to produce, and that served me pretty well, I think. I think halberdiers are really strong for this level. If you're not playing this level with halberdiers, you're making a big mistake. Those units, I think, give the most bang for the buck. Afterwards, I'd say skirmishers are quite good against the heavy cavalry. But the cavalry archers are more countered by the castles than anything else. And skirmishers are also, unfortunately, very bad against light cavalry, paladins, and war elephants.
BJ, we have driven the Gorids from our land, my brother. Go to San Yogita and celebrate.
But yeah, just like that, you can see that we actually ended up destroying all 3 monasteries, so we didn't even need to choose this with the wonder. What I did there was I actually took advantage of waiting for them to attack my castles, killing off their wave, and then jumping into attack.
Thousands of Turkish horsemen, the slave soldiers of a savage warlord, descended from the Afghan hills to the plain at Darain. Great clouds of dust rose in their wake, obstructing the vision of the Rajput Kshatriya. The Turkish cavalry unleashed a shower of arrows on the Rajputs. The Indian warriors, facing an enemy they could not see, could only weather the blows against them. With the battle hanging in the balance, Govind Rai, brother of my king, rode alone into the dusty fray, challenging the Turkish warlord to single combat. He struck Muhammad Ghori from his horse and wounded him. The warlord's slaves encircled their master and carried him off the field as the Turkish trumpets beleaguered a retreat.
Anyway, that's that level. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.